Okay, so hopefully you know sort of how to enter things in your calculator. Are you putting the word first or the number first? What we're going to look at now is to actually solve some equations that involve these trig functions for the letter x. And trust me, all of this will sort of make more sense with next week's videos, because what you're looking at on my screen now will actually come from looking at a picture. But again, today is all about how do we put these things into a calculator and making sure we get our calculators to work properly. So what we're doing is we're solving for x. We need to make sure that x is completely by itself before we enter something into our calculator. So if you look at the two problems on your screen, x is on the top of my fraction. Well, we don't tend to like fractions very much, so we like to simplify things, and let's get rid of a fraction. I can get rid of a fraction by multiplying by 20 on both sides, okay? Now, what happens when I do that is I'm going to have 20 times the sine of 42 equal to x. So the 20 goes in front. The sine 42 is sort of connected. You can't separate them. I'm not actually taking 20 times 42 at this point. But what I have now is something equal to x. And that something is something I can put into my calculator. So again, this is where, depending upon what calculator you're using, it varies a little bit. If you have a calculator like the one on the internet, where I can put the words in first, okay, I'm going to literally type what this says. I'm going to do 20 sine 42, and I'm going to hit equals, okay? If you had a calculator where you had to put the numbers in first, you're sort of going to enter this in reverse. You're going to put 42, hit sine, now hit times 20 and hit equals. So I'll say that again. If you have to put numbers in first, enter it backwards. Do 42, hit sine, times 20, and then hit equals. The key is not to clear your calculator in the middle. We all should have this same decimal, 13.3826, blah, blah, blah. It says round to the nearest tenth. So the 8 is going to bump my 3 up to a 4. And so I'm going to get 13.4 equal to x. Okay. And we're just going to do the exact same thing over here on number 10. 18's on the bottom. I'm going to multiply both sides by 18. When I do that, 18 goes in the front. Here I have cosine of 53, and that's going to equal x. So now I need to enter this into a calculator. And so I can hit 18, put in cosine this time, put in 53, and I'm going to hit equals. Or again, if you need to put numbers in first, 53, hit cosine, times 18, and make sure you hit equals. My screen here says 10.83. 3 does not make me round up, so just 10.8, oops, equals x. Okay, so when x is on the top of our fraction, we simply multiply by what's on the bottom. That gives us what we enter into our calculator. Okay. Same approach to these two questions, except now notice x is on the bottom of my fraction instead of on the top. The problem is I still have a fraction, and I don't really want to have a fraction. So I still need to make my fraction go away. The easiest way to make a fraction go away is to multiply by what is on the bottom. So in this case, I multiply by x. X times tangent of 22 equals the 34 that was on top. But the issue is my x is not by itself. Well, this is technically multiplication. Divide by the tangent of 22. And you're going to do that on both sides. Okay. And so what that means is now I have an equation that says x equals, and I have the fraction 34 divided by the tangent of 22. Okay. And once again, once we have x equal to something, it's ready to go into our calculator. So if I pull my calculator up, I'm going to enter exactly what it says. I'm going to put 34. I'm going to hit divide. Notice it puts it on the bottom for me. I'm going to hit tangent of 22, and I'm going to hit my equals. Okay. If you have a calculator that you need to enter numbers first, you're going to hit 34, divide 22, tangent, and hit equals. You must hit equals. Okay. So I'll say that again. If you have to put numbers in first, do 34, divide 22, tangent, equals. Everybody should have the same decimal, 84.15. Again, we're going to the nearest tenth. 5 is going to round me up, so I'm going to get an 84.2. Okay. So I'm going to take that same approach over here to question 12. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to I'm going to multiply both sides by x because we're currently dividing by x. Okay. So x times the sine of 61 is going to equal 36. Okay. And then we're going to divide by the sine of 61. And we're going to do that on both sides. Okay. If you notice that the x and whatever was on the left-hand side are sort of just switching places, I don't necessarily need to see this work. I do need to see that x equals 36 over the sine of 61. I want to see what you're going to type into a calculator so that if you hit a wrong button or something like that, I at least know that you solved this part correctly. So again, use the same steps that we just did. So I'll pull my calculator back up here. This time I'm going to hit 36, divide. This time it's sine 61 on the bottom, and we should be getting a decimal 41.16. 6 is going to round me up, so I get a 41.2. Okay. So here we have two sets of examples where we're solving for x. We did 2 questions when x was on the top of the fraction. We did 2 questions when x was on the bottom of the fraction. So the only other place x can be is what happens when the x is on the left-hand side with our word, with our sine, cosine, or tangent. So this is very much like questions 5 through 8 that we did in the previous video. We have to use our inverse, okay? What you're asked to find here is the angle to the nearest whole degree. And so what that means is that we're going to need to take our word. Again, we're going to need that -1. We're going to actually put in the fraction, oops, there we go, of 21 over 33. And then that's going to give us our answer for x. Okay. So what that means is that when I'm entering this, we're going to be entering it with a 21 over 33 in our value. So if I pull up our calculator, I need to hit that function, hit that shift button. I'm going to put in my cosine to a -1. I'm going to get my numbers back. I'm going to put in 21 divided by 33 and hit my equals. Okay. If you have a calculator where you're putting in the numbers first, okay, you want to do 21 divided by 33, hit equals. You'll get a decimal on your screen. With that decimal still on your screen, go ahead and hit your shift or your second button and then hit that cosine with the -1. Okay, so again, if you have to put numbers in first, put in the 21 divided by 33, hit equals. With the decimal still on your screen, hit your shift or second button and go ahead and put in your cosine -1. You should be seeing this same 50.4788 that I am. Now my instructions here were nearest whole degree, so only look one decimal back. This is a 0.4. 0.4 does not round up, so this is going to be a 50-degree angle. So 50 is going to equal X. It doesn't matter which side you put X on. So for example, when I go over here to number 4, I could say X equals, I could put in my tangent with the -1. I can put in my parentheses and my fraction and do my 37/23. Okay, it doesn't matter which side you have that X on. Notice you're going to do the same things. So one last time with the calculator. This time I need tangent with a -1. I'm going to put 37 divided by 23. And when I look at my decimal, we should get a 58-degree answer. So here X is going to equal 58. Okay. The main thing I want to say is if you are not getting the same answers as I'm getting with your calculator, I highly recommend you pop on office hours this week so that I can help you. If I can see your calculator, I can tell you exactly how to press the buttons on it. If that doesn't work, then I recommend you pull this calculator up on your computer and you use this calculator. Okay, it's very user friendly. It shows you exactly what you put in and it should look exactly like what's on your paper. Okay. Next week, we'll look at how all of this stuff comes from pictures. Again, this is all about, do we know how to press the buttons on our calculators?